When my husband demanded a divorce after 15 years of marriage, I didn't scream, beg, or ask why. I simply smiled, signed the papers, and watched him walk away, straight into the arms of the woman he'd thrown our life away for. Days later, as he celebrated his newfound freedom with his mistress at our favorite restaurant, the same place where we once toasted anniversaries and birthdays, I approached their table with a calm smile that masked the storm within. "Congratulations on your freedom," I whispered, sliding a slim envelope across the white linen table. His confident smirk faltered as his eyes fell on the DNA results inside. Silence wrapped around us like a noose. I turned and walked away, leaving him frozen, pale, unable to speak. But this wasn't where my story began. No, the unraveling of our perfect life had started weeks earlier, on a quiet Tuesday morning at 9:17 a.m. The twins were at school, Mia at her piano lesson. I was gathering his shirts for dry cleaning when I stumbled upon it. Her gym bag, tucked behind his polished Oxford shoes in our walk-in closet. The zipper gaped slightly, revealing a crisp white dress shirt, crumpled and stained. Not with blood, but with the unmistakable mark of deep crimson lipstick. The same shirt he'd claimed to have worn for an emergency surgery the night before. My hands trembled as I held it, the truth bleeding through every fiber of that fabric. It wasn't exhaustion or pressure that had created distance between us. It was betrayal, hiding in plain sight. For years, we had been the picture-perfect Carters. Him, the revered Dr. Jennifer Carter, chief of cardiothoracic surgery. Me, the devoted wife, mother of 3, and keeper of our pristine colonial home in Oak Ridge Heights. Neighbors envied us. Colleagues admired us. At hospital galas, he'd raise a glass and say, "I couldn't do any of this without her." I used to believe him. I clung to that belief through every long night, every missed dinner, every cold shoulder brushed off as the price of his success. But the signs were always there. Late nights at the hospital, weekend golf trips with colleagues, the way our conversations had dwindled to little more than schedules and obligations. And yet, I stayed. I hosted the parties, played the perfect wife, and told myself love simply changes over time. When he earned his promotion last spring, I threw him a surprise party, inviting everyone who mattered. He smiled for the cameras but seethed in private, claiming I'd embarrassed him. That night, he slept in the guest room. For exhaustion, he claimed. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Until that Tuesday. Until that shirt. Until the damning proof that shattered my illusions and forced me to see the truth. I had become invisible in my own marriage, nothing more than a stepping stone for his ambition. But I didn't rage. I didn't confront him. Instead, I chose silence, calculated, deadly. I gathered my strength, called the lab, and had the DNA tested, not his but hers. The results confirmed what I already knew. The lipstick wasn't mine. I could have screamed. I could have thrown that shirt in his face. But men like Jennifer don't fear anger. They fear consequences. So, when he finally asked for a divorce, convinced he held all the power, I gave him exactly what he wanted. I let him believe he'd won. I signed the papers, arranged for our assets to be split, and made no demands. And when he toasted his future with her, naive, foolish, he found out the truth. That I'd known all along, that while he had been planning his escape, I had been planning mine. That the woman he traded me for wasn't his prize. She was his downfall. As I walked away from that restaurant, I felt no regret, no sorrow, only freedom. Because Jennifer may have thought he ended our marriage, but it was me, calm, deliberate, who ended him. Not with rage, not with violence, but with the cold, quiet horror of a truth he could never escape. I tried everything. New lingerie, carefully planned date nights. Every tip glossy magazines promised would reignite the spark. He showed up, but barely, checking his phone between courses, his mind miles away. "Is everything okay between us?" I asked one night as he pushed his favorite meal around the plate. "Just tired, Jen. The Jenkins case is complicated," he muttered, retreating to his home office, door shut, voice low as he took late-night calls. I believed in trust, in privacy. I never checked his phone. That was for insecure women, not for Jennifer Carter, the perfect wife. Until our 15th anniversary approached. I planned a surprise, romantic weekend in Napa Valley, where we'd honeymooned. All I needed was to check his schedule. His phone sat unattended on the counter while he showered. One glance, that's all I intended. But fate is cruel. A message popped up as I held it. Dr. Nina Harrington. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to feel you inside me again. When are you leaving her?" My hand trembled as I opened the thread. Hundreds of texts, photos, plans made while I took Mia to recitals, helped the twins with science projects. "Jennifer's planning something big for our anniversary?" Nina laughed. "Poor thing still thinks there's something left to celebrate." I placed the phone back, brewed his coffee, and kissed him goodbye as he left for the hospital. Then I collapsed, vomiting until there was nothing left but bile. That night, when the children were finally asleep, I confronted him. In the very bedroom where we'd created life, shared dreams, survived miscarriages, and mourned my father. "Are you sleeping with Nina Harrington?" My voice barely wavered. He didn't flinch. Calmly, he removed his watch and placed it on the nightstand. "Yes." "How long? Does it matter?" His eyes were cold, unrecognizable. "I want a divorce," he declared, "not a confession, an execution." "Why?" I whispered. "I've outgrown this life. Outgrown us." He gestured around the room like it was a prison. "I've given 15 years to this marriage, to these children. I'm 45. If I'm going to start over, it has to be now." "Start over?" My voice cracked. "We built this life together, Jennifer. Everything you are, everything I am." He laughed bitterly. "I save lives every day. What do you do, Jennifer? Bake cookies for school fundraisers? Organize my sock drawer? I built this life despite the anchor of domesticity." His words hit harder than any blow. I'd given up my teaching career, carried the home, the children, the endless hospital dinners, all so he could rise. Now he looked at me like I was a burden he couldn't wait to drop. "You'll be taken care of financially," he added, already detached, like settling a business transaction. "The children will adjust. They always do." That night, he slept in the guest room while I lay awake, unraveling every memory, every sacrifice. Had any of it been real? Or had I been so committed to the illusion that I missed the cracks forming beneath us? At dawn, he was gone. On the kitchen counter, he'd left his lawyer's business card. Just like that, the perfect life I thought we'd built crumbled. And I finally saw the truth. It had always been a mirage. I was never part of his future, just a chapter he'd been waiting to close. What I didn't know then was that the lipstick stain and the affair were just surface cracks in a foundation already rotting from within. Jennifer's betrayal ran deeper than infidelity, and soon I'd uncover secrets that would make his affair feel insignificant by comparison. The morning after he left his lawyer's card on our kitchen counter, I sat in Laura Winter's office, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Oak Ridge Heights. Her advice was sharp, her voice colder. "Document everything, Jennifer, especially the finances. Men like him always hide things." That night, while the kids slept, still believing their father was just busy saving lives. I opened our home safe. 15 years of our life together reduced to paper. Tax returns, investment portfolios, property deeds. But as I sifted through the neatly stacked records, a pattern began to emerge. Dark threads unraveling the perfect tapestry I once believed in. Withdrawals. $5,000 here, $7,500 there, sometimes even $10,000, all wired to an entity called Riverside Holdings. No receipts, no explanations. Nearly $250,000 siphoned away over 2 years. My hands trembled as I stared at the numbers. The next morning, I called the bank. The account manager hesitated, dancing around my questions. But the truth bled through. Riverside Holdings was a shell, an LLC registered solely under Jennifer's name, a dead end designed to bury secrets. I slid the statements across Laura's mahogany desk. "Is this normal?" I asked, my voice low. She sighed, adjusting her glasses. "Unfortunately, yes. But this looks calculated, intentional. Like he's been planning your exit for years." And then Laura said a name that made my pulse skip. Dr. Alex Brooks. He came up in another case I handled. Your husband's former colleague. Left Ashford Medical under interesting circumstances. You should talk to him. I remembered Dr. Brooks, a quiet man, awkward at hospital galas, always on the edge of every conversation. He'd vanished 3 years ago, his absence barely a ripple. Jennifer brushed it off. Professional differences, nothing worth repeating. But Laura's tone told me otherwise. It took 5 calls to find him, a modest family clinic 40 miles outside the city. His receptionist was wary, until I mentioned Jennifer's name. Then, silence, and a quiet transfer. "Mrs. Carter?" His voice was heavy, full of regret. "I've been expecting this call for years." We met at a coffee shop halfway between our worlds. He looked older, haunted, deep lines carved around tired eyes. His black coffee sat untouched as he studied me. "I knew this day would come," he whispered. "I just didn't know which of us would break first, me or Jennifer." Then the truth unraveled, slow and devastating. The fertility clinic at Ashford, it had a problem, he began. My breath caught. I found inconsistencies, IVF cycles failing despite perfect conditions, reports falsified, embryos switched, specimens tampered with, all to inflate success rates and protect the clinic's funding. My stomach lurched. 3 rounds of IVF for the twins. 2 more for Mia. Each failure a wound. Each success a miracle. "You're saying," my voice cracked. "I don't know whose children came from where, Jennifer, but I know this. Your husband knew. Mercer ran the scam, but Jennifer, he was right there, protecting it, benefiting from it." The ground shifted beneath me. I had thought betrayal ended with another woman. But this was the real fracture. The children I had fought so hard for, the pain, the grief. It had all been currency in his game. Dr. Brooks reached across the table, his voice shaking. "I'm sorry. I should have come to you sooner. But he made sure I stayed quiet." In that moment, I realized Jennifer's betrayal was never about Nina Harrington. It was about power, control. And now, for the first time, I saw him clearly. Not as the man who saved lives, but as the man who had destroyed mine piece by piece, quietly, deliberately. And just like that, I knew. I wasn't fighting for revenge. I was fighting for the truth. And when I was done, Jennifer Carter would lose far more than just his perfect reputation. He'd lose everything. When I confronted Dr. Brooks, his weary eyes confirmed the unthinkable. Jennifer wasn't just aware of the deception. He was complicit. "That's impossible," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Jennifer wanted children. We both did." But Brooks only slid a small thumb drive across the table, his face carved from stone. Hospital records, lab reports, his signature, authorizing procedural modifications. A sterile phrase masking the truth. Tampering. "Including your case." Why? My breath hitched. Why would he do this? Brooks hesitated, the weight of what he was about to reveal sinking heavy between us. It started with ambition. Mercer, clinic director and later board member, paved the way for Jennifer's promotion to chief. But there's more. Jennifer has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, hereditary, mild, but with a 50% chance of passing to his children. A surgeon like him couldn't risk that shadow over his perfect career. The words hit like a tidal wave, leaving me gasping. My knuckles whitened against the table as the full horror settled. During every round of IVF, he made sure his sperm was never used. Anonymous donors every time. Jennifer had stolen the very foundation of our family, while looking me in the eye and calling it love. I left that meeting with the thumb drive burning in my purse and Brooks' parting words echoing, "I'm sorry. You deserved to know." That night, after tucking the kids into bed, I moved through the house like a ghost, collecting strands of hair from their brushes, saliva from their toothbrushes, a stray comb from Jennifer's abandoned sink. My hands were steady now. I sent it all to a discreet genetic testing service Brooks recommended. Then came the wait. 2 excruciating weeks where Jennifer escalated his attack, pushing the divorce faster, demanding custody evaluations, accusing me of emotional instability. His lawyer's letters dripped with condescension, questioning my ability to support the children, suggesting my role had been decorative at best. They offered a settlement so insultingly low it was clear. This wasn't negotiation. It was war. But I played my part perfectly. I smiled at school drop-offs, helped the twins build their science projects, applauded Mia's recital like my world wasn't collapsing. "Daddy's just busy at the hospital," I told the other mothers, lips curling around the lie. "You know how it is." And when night fell, I buried myself in research, fertility fraud, medical ethics violations, stories of doctors using their own sperm, clinics swapping embryos, but nowhere did I find a case like mine. A husband, orchestrating a family that wasn't his, erasing my right to choose. The call came on a gray Tuesday morning. The woman's voice was professional, cold. "We have your results, Mrs. Carter. Email or phone?" "Email," I breathed. I needed to see it. Black and white. Undeniable. The report arrived moments later. Clinical. Precise. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the tested children. Probability of paternity: 0%. I stared until the words blurred. Then, calm. Ice cold. I printed 3 copies. 1 for Laura, 1 for the safety deposit box I'd opened in my name, and 1 more, slipped into a cream envelope stamped with Ashford Medical Center's logo, plucked from Jennifer's home office weeks earlier. My hands didn't shake. The devastation had hardened into something else entirely. Resolve. Because this wasn't just adultery. This wasn't just a man siphoning money or chasing younger women. This was betrayal at the deepest level. A crime committed in silence, before our children were even conceived. Jennifer hadn't just broken our vows. He had stolen my motherhood, rewritten our history, and stripped me of the one thing I could never get back: my right to choose the father of my children. And now he was about to pay. For 15 years, Jennifer had built an intricate lie, one that shaped my identity as a wife, as a mother, and defined the very existence of our children. He wore the mask of a brilliant surgeon, a devoted father and a benevolent provider, while hiding the darkest betrayal imaginable. But now, armed with the DNA results, my grief sharpened into a blade. I no longer mourned the life he destroyed. I plotted the end of the perfect facade he so carefully constructed. Methodically, I began dismantling his world. My first step, uncovering the full scope of his crimes. Dr. Brooks handed me a list. 27 families treated under Jennifer's oversight at Ashford. Most refused to speak, too afraid to question the origin of their longed-for children. But 5 brave souls met with me. The Millers had twins with no resemblance to either parent. The Patel's daughter suffered from unexplained health issues. The Johnsons, Garcias, and Wilsons all shared the same chilling thread: miraculous conceptions after countless failures, each case touched personally by Dr. Mercer. "We were just grateful," Tina Wilson sobbed. "We never questioned how." But I did. And my search led me to Diane Fletcher, a former nurse from Ashford's clinic. In her small, cluttered apartment, she revealed her secret. 12 years of records she'd risked everything to preserve. "They thought I destroyed it," she whispered, sliding out a worn leather journal. Names, altered procedures, forged consents, all meticulously documented. "Why didn't you go public?" I asked, my throat tight. Diane's bitter laugh cut through the air. "I tried. Ethics boards, hospital admin, the police. Your husband's reach is long, Mrs. Carter. Every investigation vanished." And then she turned to the page that made my blood run cold. My name, our IVF dates, Jennifer's signature. "Specimen replacement authorized. No donor ID recorded." My hands trembled as I photographed every damning entry. Before I left, Diane pressed a card into my palm. "Agent Dawson, Medical Ethics Unit. Tell him I sent you." Dawson had been circling Ashford for 18 months, frustrated by the fortress surrounding the clinic. "Your evidence is the crack we need," he told me. But it wasn't enough. He needed financial records, kickbacks, confessions, proof strong enough to shatter Jennifer's empire. And so I played my part, the grieving, reasonable wife. In mediation, I smiled softly, agreed to temporary custody, feigned consideration of his insulting settlement. "You're being surprisingly reasonable, Jennifer," he mused, arrogance seeping into his tone. "The children come first," I whispered. "I just want what's best for everyone." And with every lie I let him believe, his confidence grew, unaware he was walking straight into the ruin I was patiently preparing. Jennifer paraded Nina at school events, flaunted her at dinners with mutual friends, and even let her sleep over when the kids visited his sleek downtown apartment, as if erasing me was that easy. Meanwhile, I smiled politely, all while recording conversations, photographing every damning document, and building a case designed not just to win, but to destroy him. Hiring a private investigator turned the tide. What he uncovered about Nina was a revelation. She wasn't just Jennifer's lover and colleague. She was Madeline Harrington's daughter. Madeline, the patient who died on Jennifer's operating table 5 years ago during what was supposed to be a routine valve replacement. Official reports blamed Madeline for failing to disclose a critical medication. Jennifer walked away clean, his reputation intact. But the truth was far darker. Buried in hospital records Agent Dawson helped unearth, I discovered Jennifer's fatal mistake wasn't chance. It was negligence. He'd been running on fumes after a secret weekend in Chicago with Nina, his recklessness covered by falsified reports and a hush-money payoff from Ashford's funds. Months later, grief consumed Madeline's husband until his own heart gave out. Orphaned and furious, Nina changed her name, severed all ties to her past, and infiltrated Jennifer's life. first as a colleague, then his lover. Her revenge had been calculated and patient, much like mine. For a moment, I considered confronting Nina, perhaps even proposing an alliance. But where she burned with volatile emotion, I needed precision. Over the next month, I gathered sworn testimonies from former clinic staff, exposed financial trails leading from Ashford to Riverside Holdings to offshore accounts, and collected statements from patients deceived by Jennifer's greed. While Agent Dawson built his legal case, I prepared something far more devastating: the total annihilation of Jennifer Carter's pristine image. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. During a staged co-parenting conversation, I steered him toward dangerous ground. "The twins have your eyes," I said softly. "Good genes," he muttered, scrolling his phone. "Do you ever worry they inherited your heart condition?" His head snapped up. "What?" "Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Dr. Brooks mentioned it." Rage flickered in his eyes. "Brooks should keep his damn mouth shut. Doesn't it concern you? Our kids?" "There's nothing to worry about," he snapped. "I had them tested. They're fine." "You tested them without telling me?" "I'm their father and a doctor. I made a medical decision." Every word was captured: his admission, his arrogance, his lie. The final nail Dawson needed. Fate handed me the perfect stage: Ashford Medical Center's annual gala. Jennifer, arrogant as ever, texted that he'd be bringing Nina as his date but magnanimously invited me. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied sweetly. "You deserve this recognition." What he didn't know, I'd already met with the hospital board chairman and dropped the first piece of the bomb that would obliterate his carefully constructed kingdom. The night of the Ashford Gala unfolded like a perfectly crafted climax, every detail meticulously laid for the final reckoning. Hours before, behind closed doors, Agent Dawson presented the full case: financial fraud, patient testimonies, and Diane Fletcher's damning records, before the hospital board. Their disbelief twisted into horror, and by the time the secret session ended, the district attorney had been alerted, and officers stationed discreetly at every exit. Meanwhile, I stood before my mirror, slipping into the black gown Nina once mocked as suburban mom tries sophistication. Ironic, given it now marked the moment I'd bury them both. The night sky rumbled with distant thunder, the air heavy with the promise of a storm, but it held, just like me. As I entered the grand ballroom, my diamond earrings, once a gift from a husband who no longer existed, caught the light. There he was, my soon-to-be ex, basking in the glow of his own arrogance, Nina clinging to him in crimson, the same blood-red shade that had started it all. They were surrounded by hospital board members, laughing, admiring, oblivious. Jennifer had no idea the walls were closing in. Somewhere, I knew, the envelope containing the DNA results waited. The final weapon in a war he didn't even know he was losing. I moved through the crowd, accepting sympathetic nods from the same women who had long seen me as nothing more than Dr. Carter's devoted wife. "So brave of you to come," whispered Margaret Reynolds, offering pity with one eye on Jennifer and his crimson mistress. "I wouldn't miss seeing him honored." I smiled, voice calm, cool, the undertone razor-sharp. Then, the moment arrived. Jennifer was called to the stage, the room erupting in applause as he took the crystal trophy with that same smug, humble-brag smile. "Medicine is a sacred trust," he declared, his voice steady. "Ethics must guide every decision, every procedure." I nearly laughed. Nina sat poised, her adoration perfectly calculated, but I saw the tension in her shoulders. She knew something was coming. Our eyes met, two women bonded by betrayal, both knowing the man on stage was nothing more than a polished fraud. And as the applause died down, The officers moved into position. Jennifer Carter had no idea his empire was already crumbling, and I was the one who set it all ablaze. After the ceremony, they went straight to Vincenzo's, just as I knew they would. 20 minutes later, I followed, the cream envelope tucked securely inside my clutch. The restaurant was exactly as we'd left it. White linens, soft golden light, the haunting echo of Italian opera floating through the air. The maitre d' spotted me instantly. "Mrs. Carter, how wonderful to see you again. Your husband mentioned you might join them." My lips curled slightly. He had he? Whether it was arrogance or a setup for some public humiliation, it didn't matter. Either way, it was perfect. There they sat at our favorite table by the window, the one where he once promised me forever. Between them, the 1982 Bordeaux we'd shared for our anniversary, back when I believed his lies. The bottle alone cost more than our monthly groceries. Jennifer saw me first, his surprise quickly morphing into a smug, condescending grin, as if he expected me to beg. Nina turned, her face a careful mask of concern. "Jennifer," his voice dripped with patronizing amusement. "This is unexpected, isn't it?" I walked toward them, calm, controlled, every step deliberate. "You told the maitre d' I might join. Seems I was expected." "A courtesy," he shrugged. "I didn't think you'd actually show." Nina shifted, uneasy. "Maybe I should give you two a moment." "No," I said, my gaze locked on hers. "Stay, Nina. You've earned your seat at this table, or should I call you Nina Harrington?" Her face blanched. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "What the hell are you talking about?" I smiled coldly. "Nina knows, don't you? Daughter of Madeline Harrington, the patient who died after you botched her valve replacement, Jennifer. The woman you killed because you were too exhausted from a weekend in Chicago. With her daughter." Nina's silence was answer enough. Jennifer turned toward her, horror dawning. "Is that true?" Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't deny it. I seized the moment, placing the envelope carefully on the table. "Congratulations on your freedom," I murmured. "I think you'll find this interesting." Jennifer's hands trembled as he unfolded the DNA results. I watched, waiting, as disbelief twisted into horror. This is impossible." "Is it?" I leaned in, my voice ablade. "You made sure your sperm was never used in our IVF treatments. You falsified records, lied to me for 15 years, lied about the very blood running through our children's veins." Nina gasped, turning to him. "What is she talking about?" "Nothing," Jennifer snapped, desperate to salvage control. "She's making this up because she can't handle the divorce." "Then you won't mind explaining it," I smiled, nodding toward the entrance. There stood Dr. Winters, the hospital board, and Agent Dawson. To them, or the district attorney, or our children. Jennifer's face contorted with rage. "You vindictive—" "Choose your next words carefully," Agent Dawson cut in, stepping forward. "Doctor, Jennifer Carter, you're under arrest for medical fraud, financial crimes, and violations of the Medical Practice Act." The restaurant fell into stunned silence as the cuffs clicked around his wrists. "You planned this," he hissed. "All those months, pretending to be the good little ex-wife." I met his glare, steady. "You had 15 years, Jennifer. I only needed 3 months." As they dragged him away, Nina sat frozen, staring at her half-full glass. "I didn't know about the children," she whispered. I exhaled slowly. "I believe you." And with that, I stood, free at last, leaving the past in ruins behind me. Your mother deserved justice, too. In the weeks that followed, the story ignited like wildfire, dominating headlines across medical journals and mainstream media alike. Jennifer faced multiple felony charges, his once celebrated medical license suspended as he awaited trial. The fertility clinic, once hailed as a beacon of innovation, was shut down. Every file, every case dragged under the harsh light of investigation. Dozens of families came forward, desperate for answers about their children's true genetic origins. The financial fallout was swift and brutal. Every hidden asset Jennifer thought he'd concealed was frozen, unearthed by the court-appointed forensic accountant, who followed the money trail he'd so carefully buried. Every stolen dollar was clawed back, and from that, a trust was built, securing my children's future in a way their father never intended. It was after Jennifer's preliminary hearing that Dr. Brooks found me. Ashford is forming an ethics review board to oversee reproductive services once they reopen, he said, his voice heavy but hopeful. They asked me to lead it. I offered him a genuine smile. Congratulations, I replied, but he shook his head. Actually, I suggested we co-chair. Your perspective matters. For a moment, I was silent, startled. For 15 years, I had been Jennifer Carter, the surgeon's shadow, the perfect wife lost beneath his towering ambition. Now, someone was asking me to stand in my own name, for my own merit, and for the first time, I felt ready. 6 months later, I sat across from Nina at a quiet restaurant neither of us had ever visited, neutral ground for two women bound by betrayal. Our alliance had formed not from friendship, but survival, shaped in courtrooms and whispered conversations where the weight of Jennifer's manipulation became undeniable. She studied me, her voice low. Do you regret it? Exposing it all? The children? They'll know one day. I didn't answer right away. I let the question hang, feeling the full weight of it. Finally, I exhaled. They'll know the truth, I said slowly. And yes, it will hurt, but it won't change who they are, or how fiercely I love them. The real damage was living in a lie. I chose the truth no matter how hard. That night, I stood at the threshold of the home Jennifer had once tried to sell out from under me, watching my children sleep, safe, peaceful, unaware of the storm their father had unleashed. And for the first time, I didn't feel revenge. I didn't feel righteous satisfaction. I felt free. The perfect family had shattered, but from its ruins rose something far more powerful: authenticity. No more scripts, no more roles written by someone else. For the first time in 15 years, I wasn't a prop in Jennifer Carter's story. I was the author of my own, messy, complicated, beautifully mine.